Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we discuss day-to-day problems people face in their lives. Let's start with the video.
My husband and I are in our latest 20s. Dad is in his late 40s. The inheritance was left by my deceased mom's dad. My father remarried after her death and now has 3 kids with my stepmom. She stays home with their youngest. I moved out. My personal goal has always been to retire my father since I started my career. That's been the plan. He left for work every day, whether he was sick or had broken ribs, every day. He worked 2 jobs when I was younger. It meant that I didn't get to see him at all. But I knew he was only doing what he had to do in order to put a roof over our heads and money in our college fund. The year I left for my university, he had fallen off a ladder and broken 2 ribs out in a field on a Friday, but waited till he got off to go to the ER and went into work the next Monday. Didn't ask for workers' compensation or time off, just sucked it up and went back to work. That day I told myself I was going to retire him as soon as I could. So when my grandpa passed, his inheritance to his only living biological grandchild or child, I used the money to help make sure my dad would never have to work another day in his life. Now, my husband has a massive amount of student loan debts along with some credit card debt. He's upset because I didn't use any of the money to pay off his debts, a lot of which was accumulated before meeting me, and give what was left over to my dad to retire on. But truthfully, the choice between husband's debt and the promise I made to myself before I left home about retiring my father wasn't really much of a choice. This was something I had to do. Edits. Just to clarify, my dad was against the idea of immediately retiring, but that was my intent. I'm so glad he can now and not be living in poverty. It's liberating knowing his future will be a comfortable one. I understand not everyone can relate to this feeling, and that's okay. But I'm so glad he's set. It was quite a bit of money even after the tax, so I'm sure it will last, and if not, he'll always have me to fall back on. I just like to say I now believe I should have paid off his debt and given what was left off to my father, if I could do it over. But my husband understands, or so he says. Not the a-hole. Not just because it's your inheritance and your choice what you do with it, but also because your dad has already hurt himself once at work and he's only getting older. At this point, you're not just helping your dad retire because he was a great dad and you love him, but also because you're concerned about his safety. It's a bummer that you and your husband will have this debt hanging over you, but you're still young enough to get it paid off. It will all work out. Hold up, let's do some math. Those student loans can't be more than 100K. More likely, they're around 50K, give or take. The inheritance amount is not enough to both provide for original poster's father and also pay off husband's student loans. That means the inheritance is not much, definitely not enough to retire a 40-year-old man and provide for 2 adults and 3 children for 20-30 years. That's why I'm giving a pretty sizable you're the a-hole. Original poster's husband's debt is going to affect her too. They may not qualify for mortgage. Plus, what about talking it over with your spouse before you rush to spend it? Aren't you partners? Didn't you do any planning around this? What about your own financial stability? What if one of you becomes disabled and your household income is not enough to sustain you? What if you want to have children and need to fund their college? What happens if you lose your job? Those are just a few questions original poster and her husband should have discussed before she decided to retire her dad, whatever that means. Story time. My husband received a very sizable cash gift from a relative 2 years ago. Not enough to retire, but it was a lot. You know what he did? He asked me what I thought. We talked about options. We decided to sit on it for 6 months while we sought out an advisor. We weighed our own needs alongside the needs of some of our close family members. Here's what he didn't do. Disregard my joint financial goals and then make a unilateral decision to just give it away. I understand why original poster's husband is losing it over this. Original poster just ignored him. Edited to add, I just learned from another commenter that the inheritance is 7 figures. My hot take. Original poster's husband probably needs to start planning a life without her because she obviously doesn't care about him. Edit, changing this to you're the a-hole. You failed to put in you got 7-figure inheritance. While helping dad is admirable, you failed to take into account something could happen to you or your spouse that would render you one with insane medical bills or on one income. That's a lot of money and could have helped you both. Everyone sucks here, soft, mostly husband, for assuming money would go to his dead. Your dad is very young to retire in his 40s. He has to have 2 jobs to support her and their 3 kids, who I assume are school age. Please correct me if they aren't yet because childcare is expensive. Your husband shouldn't assume you needed to pay his debt. However, he may be in the same scenario as your dad and unable to retire due to his debt being the same to you. So, while it is your money to do as you please, I think you jumped the gun. Also, does your dad even want to retire at this juncture? It may have been smart to take some burden of the debt off and then give the rest to your dad. Also, is this enough for him to support a family of 4 till the kids are gone? Edit. Just saw that stepmom stays home with the youngest, so obviously benefits of staying home outweigh the costs of daycare. But I still question whether he wants to retire and if they can afford him being retired for the long run. A gentle everyone sucks here because it was a very kind and generous thing to do and perhaps not the wrong thing to do in the end. But in general, marriage is a partnership. You had what sounds like a seriously substantial amount of money come into the marriage, made a unilateral decision about it, and directed all of it away for your own family. It's really not surprising your husband is frustrated about that. You're talking about your husband's debt as though they have no effect on you, but that's unlikely because it affects what he's able to contribute to the household, what you're able to save combined, the loans you're able to get for cars and a home, your own retirement savings and your own children's, if you have them, future. That's a big deal. Like I said, I see why you made the decision you made. Of course, you wanted to repay your own fantastic father rather than pay off old debts that you don't feel you have any part of. And that may well have been the final decision had you and your husband made this decision together, or you could have compromised with each other. Seriously, this sounds like a multi-million-dollar inheritance if it's enough to retire on. Plenty to go around in any number of ways, but you're going to have a much easier time in marriage if you and your husband treat these major life-changing decisions as partners rather than as if you were single. Next story. I have had a difficult relationship with my older sister for years. She's my half-sister, and due to a strained relationship with our mom, I've struggled with our relationship for years. At times, we have come together to support each other when our mom has been unreasonable, and at times we have clashed because I have seen how she has hurt our mom. My mom has done a lot over the years to help us both, and a number of years ago, my mom bought her a house, but they ended up arguing a lot about it, and the family have been largely no contact with her. But since COVID, I have been talking to her more and getting closer to her, which has caused arguments with our mom. During COVID, I lost my job, moved house, and decided to open a bridal store in our city. My sister has also become engaged to her long-term boyfriend, which we all were really excited about and happy about. Who doesn't love a wedding? We had previously discussed wedding dresses, and she had tried on one before she got engaged, and once she got engaged, I told her there was no rush as she isn't getting married until 2023, and we would wait for the new season gowns to arrive before looking. She found a dress that she loved and told me she was booking an appointment to try it on. This was a gown that I could order from one of my designers. I didn't think much of it. Edit. I had offered her any dress at cost price, and she had not tried any gowns on with me since she got engaged. A few weeks ago, I got a phone call from her where she told me she really didn't like the dress she went to try, but she tried on other gowns and eventually spent over 2,000 euros on a wedding dress. I told her on the phone that I couldn't talk as I was busy. The store she bought from is one of my biggest competitors. I was really upset and felt really disappointed. This is a brand new business and my own sister doesn't want to buy from me. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I was disappointed that she hadn't even given me the respect to come to me, and she went to the other store and bought her dress on a whim. There's no time pressure or any particular reason. And well over a month later, I got really upset when I think about it. I don't want to go to her wedding or have any involvement in her wedding now. As time has gone by, I have thought that it could be because she wouldn't want my mom to be involved as she is still no contact, and I don't really see that changing. I respect and understand her decision, but I have personally decided life is better with mom and dealing with her sometimes challenging behavior. Our family has varied opinions as to whether I'm right to want nothing to do with the wedding and whether I'm overreacting. I honestly don't think I am, but maybe I'm the a-hole for getting so upset over a wedding dress. You're the a-hole. She doesn't have to buy a dress from you. She's buying the ideal dress for her day. You're making it about you to the point that you can't be happy for her and go celebrate her. You'd only be happy about the dress if it came from your store, even though she clearly didn't find one she wanted there. This is petty as hell. Instead of trying to make a buck here, be happy for your sister. Your business is your own. It's tough, but don't expect your family and friends to help you keep it afloat. Don't be like those annoying multi-level marketing people who push $20 sunscreen on their family and friends. She did you a favor by buying the dress elsewhere. Now your relationship won't have a business transaction in the middle of it. Can you imagine how destructive it would have been if there was a problem with the dress if it came from your store? Apologize for being prickly about it and move on with enjoying the wedding. You said you told her to wait until you got in new gowns because there wasn't a rush, which is a matter of opinion. So does that mean that she did approach you about getting a dress from you, but you said not wait yet? She came to you to look at dresses. You felt she was rushing it while she could have just been excited. You also basically told her that you'll give her a good price if she went to no one else. So basically you said, wait on me until I feel it's time for you to go to a wedding dress shop. As others have said, she isn't obligated to support your business, especially when she tried and you put her off. Gotta go with you're the a-hole here. So she got engaged beginning of September and bought her dress mid-September. So it was literally 2 weeks. I hadn't had the opportunity to book her in and we hadn't discussed booking her in. I did say there was no rush because I didn't want her to feel pressured, especially when she has so long and has just started a degree at university and left a job she had been in for nearly 20 years to go to uni. She had a lot of change in a short period. I was also incredibly aware that I had over 100 new dresses on order, which would be in addition to the ones I already had. So her choice would have been significantly bigger. I haven't been open long and my range is constantly improving and expanding. And I thought with the time she had, she might as well wait until all my new gowns had arrived. You're the a-hole. You can't have personal feelings when you're talking about business. Sure, she could have communicated that she changed her mind, but she didn't have a contract with you. You can feel let down and disappointed and whatever else, but boycotting her wedding in protest is just immature. You sound petty and sad and like you're making this about you instead of her finding her dress. Maybe she'll want a dress for the reception or some other photo occasion. You cutting her off over this isn't the way to handle it. It's also just bad press. I would actively avoid shopping at your store after knowing this story. You're blocking potential business if you go through with this and people start talking. The cost price doesn't matter. It's her wedding day and I'm sure she's found a dress she's fallen in love with. You sound incredibly selfish in these replies and entitled. Your sister owes you nothing. Respect her decision. It's so weird to me that you would even consider not going to her wedding over something like this. Next story. I'm almost 23, still live with my parents because I'm not allowed to move out until I get married. By not allowed, I mean they won't approve and will probably never talk to me again because they think it'll ruin their reputation because my community thinks it's bad for single girls to live alone. According to them, only sluts and characterless girls do this. I love my parents and it would break my heart to upset them, but I don't know how much longer I can tolerate their behavior. They don't charge me any rent, but since I live under their roof, I have to follow their rules. Normally, I'd agree that this is fair, especially because I'm not paying rent. But given that they've told me I don't have any other choice and I'm not allowed to leave, I told my dad I'm sick of his rules. I'm not allowed to wear any dresses or shorts or skirts or tank tops or crop tops or anything that shows any skin at all. I'm not allowed to go out at night or visit bars or nightclubs or drink or stay the night at a friend's place. I'm not allowed to travel or take trips with friends or have a boyfriend. I'm not allowed to get piercings or tattoos or dye my hair or cut it in a certain way. I wasn't allowed to attend university in a different city, so I had to settle for a local one that I could commute to daily. I recently found a post-bachelor's program I want to do in another city, and my parents said my grandparents will have to move there with me if I go because I'm not allowed to go alone. I also used to have to pray every day, but I stopped doing this. But I can tell my dad isn't over it because he makes passive-aggressive comments about it every day and continues to say things about how prayer is the only thing that can fix my depression and therapy or meds won't solve anything. My mom has a few ridiculous rules too, like not using tampons because they will apparently take my virginity and I won't be pure anymore and no man will marry me. I recently ordered some clothes online, and when my package arrived, my dad saw that some of them were dresses. Nothing crazy, just knee-length summer dresses or maxi dresses. And he said that I'd have to wear leggings with the ones that aren't floor length and cardigans with the ones that are sleeveless. I told him I won't be doing that because it's my life and I'm an adult and he doesn't have a right to dictate what I wear. I've tried telling my mom how suffocating his rules are, but she doesn't get it because she said her dad was even more strict with her, and I have no reason to be depressed over this, especially because my dad still loves me a lot and isn't physically abusive and helped me pay for my university degree and sacrificed a lot for me. She also said this is normal and just how all brown parents are with their daughters, and I don't have any more restrictions than anyone else. One day I got so fed up that I told my mom to just find me a husband then, because I can't stand living here any longer and marriage or suicide feels like my only way out. She seemed understanding that day but went back to pretending I never said any of that. My dad said, as long as I live under his roof, I live under his rules, and I need to respect his culture and stop trying to be white, whatever the F that means. So I said, okay, I'm moving out then, and he said, don't you dare try. Am I the a-hole for telling him I don't have to follow his rules even though I'm living under his roof? Edit. I live in Canada. My parents immigrated here from India before I was born. I'm sick, but I don't think that matters here because the restrictions they're imposing are due to culture, not religion. Not the a-hole, but please plan carefully how you're going to leave as I'm a bit worried for your safety. Make sure your money is in a separate bank account no one else can access. Secretly set up a brand new one and transfer all money to it if you need to. When you leave, have other people with you helping pack and get you out. Ensure your parents either aren't there or can't get near you as others are presented and can call police protect you. Move out. Do not accept an arranged marriage or suicide as what is best for you. And frankly, screw your parents. Get out and don't look back. Sod their reputation. Not the a-hole. My first question is, how does your dad expect you to get married and move out if you aren't allowed a boyfriend? Your parents have no right to control you in this way. This is completely against your rights as a human, as an adult. You're being conditioned by both your parents to obey the man. This is not cool. This is how women can end up in domestic abuse relationships because this treatment is being normalized. I know you love your parents and do not wish to upset them, but you are your own person. They made you, but they do not own you, and you do not have to live under their roof. The best thing you can do is move out ASAP. Free yourself and live your best life. You only have one life, and which life can be very short. Do you really want to live like this?